Hello everyone, welcome to my KSP Tutorial series. For this introduction episode I will introduce you to the game, present you the different building mechanics and their usage, and teach you tips for building mechanics. So this game is called Kerbal Space Programs. In short you can call it KSP. It's based around the workout buildings and space exploration. In the game you have the equivalent of real planets. So Kerbin is the Earth, the Moon is the Moon, Gina is Mars, Eve is Venus, and they are revolving around the Kerbal, the equivalent of our Sun. But there are some changes, like all the planets are scaled down, so the game is playable, and there are some planets or satellites that do not exist, like Minmus, that's a second moon around the Kerbal. So you start in the main menu, like you see here, and you have the option to create a new game, so start the game. You have three main modes. You see here the sandbox one. So you don't have any limits on money on this one, and you will have all the equipment unlocked from the start, and all the buildings are at full level. Then you have the science one. You don't have to manage money either, but this one you only start with the basics components, and have to unlock parts during your game. But your buildings are already at max level, you will see what this is later. And finally, the career one. You have to manage money, repetition points, unlock your pieces, and you don't have to upgrade your buildings, so that's a bit harder. And you have also the difficulty level, the difficulty option, sorry. It's better to start just a new game with the normal mode if you are a beginner, but I can show you if you want what settings I use that I think are a bit more fun to play with. So first, allow reversing fly and quick loading is very important and great. I think it's very important to keep this option. Mission crew respawn. You can deactivate it, but I think it's a bit unrealistic to have your crew reoperating like that. But I don't like so much to lose crew names because some are unique, so I keep it. But you can increase the time, so it's a bit more realistic, if you can say it. Then this option, I don't really know what is it, but I keep them like that. It's better. Indestructible facilities are a joke, so don't do that. Here I don't touch any of this because it's the base game. Maybe you can increase what you start with the money, but it's really only in careers that money is a problem, so not an issue. Then the advanced option. Here are some pretty funny option you can enable. So first, keep the Kerbal experience. It's more realistic, so your Kerbal needs to level up with time. Kerbal developed immediately, it's very better because otherwise you will have to go back each time your Kerbal gain a level to, so they acquire the ability with the gained level. Then here, just activate Kerbal G-force limit. That will make Kerbal unconscious if they are sensing too much G-force. Thank you, main menu. So it's really funny to make them unconscious. It's not so bad. Just you won't be able to control the vehicle, so it's a bit more realistic. Then these two ones keep them disabled because it's really annoying to not be able to always be able to do group action. Yeah, so keep them like that. Part upgrade is very good and pretty realistic. That means when you acquired some higher tech, your previous tech will have some upgrades, so you can keep using them as if they're already new. So yeah. Then two last things, and three last things in fact. Require signal for control is if you enable them, it can be it may be realistic because you need to have a signal to control probes, but it's annoying, and in real life you don't control probes manually, so I keep it deactivated. Plasma blackout is more realistic because when you have atmospheric re-entry too fast, your probes won't be able to. You won't be able to control your probes. So I enable it, and then last option, enable extra ground station. Basically, all around Kerbal, you will be able to have a signal to transmit science. So very useful. So here are the options I play with, and they are pretty funny, I think. So now I will introduce you to the buildings you will be using during the game. So you have three main ones you will be using a lot. So the VAB or VAB for Vehicle Assembly Building. It's a place where you build rockets. Then the tracking station that shows the maps, and you can select the rockets already in flight to control them. So very useful. And last, the R&D building. Research and development, to spend what's called science points to unlock different parts, but it's not in sandbox, and here I will show you the game in sandbox. It's a system in 3 branches, so you will unlock ports, and ports are more and more expensive in what's called science points. You also have other buildings use a bit less, but still useful. So you have the launch pad. It's essential, yes, but I don't use it very often. It's to launch the rocket you already have built, but I often just go in the VAB and launch them here. So yeah. Then the space plane hangar to build a space plane. Yeah, you listen, that's great. Then the runway to launch your space planes. The mission control. It's to take and achieve some mission to gain money and reputation points, and it's only unlocked in career. Then the astronaut complex to hire astronauts for money, and in science and sandbox you don't have any money, so it's infinite astronaut. Very great. I don't know how they pay them, but yeah. And the administration building, I don't use it really because it's really hard to understand it, but you can manage how your resource go into your program, and this resource will be used to gain other type of resource. For example, you can exchange reputation point into a cash or money if you want. But this is pretty complicated, and I don't use it very often. Just I unlock some of the option and don't touch it for the rest of the game. And last, the most important piece of our facility, essential to all missions, the flagpole. The flagpole is just used to change the flag you use for missions. It's pretty funny, and here we will be using the basic flagpole of the game. Here, the Kerbal Space Program flagpole. So, and there is a bit of difference between science and career mode, for example. In career mode, your buildings will not be upgraded, so they will restart at level 1 and have some limitation. For example, the VAB at level 1 will only have a limit of 30 pieces for your rockets. That's very limited. And you will be able to upgrade them, so to upgrade them you will, during right clicks on the building, and here, yeah, fully upgraded because I'm in sandbox. Yeah. Now we are going to enter into the VIB to see what tip I can learn you. Yeah, thank you, but I don't know you fair enough on camera. Now we are going I am going to teach you some tips. First, some camera tips to control it. Very useful. Yeah, but if you are if you know how to move a camera in this game, that will be pretty easy. So right click and move sorry, right click and move to turn it. Okay. You use the mouse wheel to go up and down, and the third mouse button, for me it's clicking on the mouse wheel to zoom in and out. Okay. So in the VAB you have some option. Here at the top you can change the name of your spacecraft. Here we will going to name it simply test. Yeah. Then you can change the mission flag, because you have a mission flag and a facility flag. Here will keep the same. It's doesn't change that doesn't change anything. Just it's visually and pretty fun to have your own flag. But yeah. So we will start by putting a basic command pod. So it's the very first one you will unlock. And first, each port have a connection point where they are likely to connect. Yeah? For example, if you want to place fuel, if I want to place fuel under my pod, yeah, fuel, please. Yeah, here, you see you have a green node, and it will be used to attach them. So here you see that use like magnets to put them in the right place. Then you have some option, like at the bottom left corner, you have the money you have. You are supposed to have the money you have, but I'm missing a box. Normally you have the money you have and the money your spacecraft cost. So for example, if I add a fuel tank, you see my money, the cost of the spacecraft will increase. Then just next to it you have the circle symmetry count. So you have it's placed part symmetrically one to each other. So you have here you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 8. So I will show you, for example, if I want to place a fuel duct, that will place them by 8 correctly, or by 4, 6. Okay. So and just next to it there is a toggle snap. So the snap here you see, the fuel ducts are connected in lines, and if I disable it, you can connect them more freely, but in most of the case that will be not so beautiful. So I assume it's better to keep the snap toggle. Then at the top, then just right next again you have the center of mass, the center of thrust, and the center of aerodynamics. Not so useful in the VAB, but just a tip: keep them aligned and at the center of the vehicle, so it will be okay. Then at the top you have 4 options. The first basic one, it's just to take here pieces and put them. Then the second one is to move parts to make a spacecraft with more precision. Like here I can move the fuel ducts. You can also do absolute movement here, absolute movement, local movement, sorry, and here absolute movement. So it's a movement according to the piece. Then the third option is just to rotate. So it's the same idea but just for rotating things. So again you have local and absolute movement. So yeah, sorry for the presentation, but it's a bit messy here. And the last one is the root part. So here you see the pod is the first pieces I placed, so it's a root, but I can change the root to be the fuel. And the root is the part of the spacecraft, which will move all the parts if you select them, you see? And if I reselect the pod, it's the pod, the main part. And finally, you have at the bottom right some indication. So here you are supposed to have the contract, but again I am in sandbox mode, sorry. The stats of your rocket are here, and you can see if you have any issue. So here you see I have a lot of issue because I don't want to really made a craft here just to present you. and the notification port, not useful in sandbox and in science, but in careers that will show you if you manage to achieve your contract. And the very last thing in the VAB, it's the staging option at the right. I will put some pieces to show you because here it's pretty empty. So I put that, the copper, and here you have, it's really basic, but just to show you how that works. So, for example, all the ports of a stage will activate at the same time. To activate a staging, you have to press spacebar during the flight, and the spacecraft, the staging option will activate from bottom to the top. So here you will see it's the fuel. So here it's first the engine, then the copper, and then the parachute. So it's not a real craft, so don't listen here. So the next video will be about spacecraft. So yeah, I hope that's all I need to explain to you for this first video. And yeah, a very last thing, you have here the option. So here to export a craft from Steam, it's to steal spacecraft from other players. Yeah. Build a new spacecraft, open a spacecraft already built, save a spacecraft and launch it. And I told you, all the time I just launch my spacecraft with this option. So yeah, I don't save it because it's not important at all. Yeah, and the VAB have 3 levels, which change the max number of pieces you can build. You can use to build rockets. And the space spinning hangar is pretty much the same, but with a symmetry mode added. So here you have another symmetry mode. It's just not a great example, sorry. So you have another symmetry mode. For example, yeah, like that. It's will be used to attach them symmetrically from a line perspective, not a point. Yeah, it's a bit messy, but you will understand easily, I hope, when you will be playing it. So it will be all for this introduction video. Thank you for listening to me, and I see you in the next video, which will be about how to build a rocket. Bye!